Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derrick, and I'm joined today by Chuggaaconroy.
Hey everybody.
And MasaeAnela.
Hello.
To discuss our general impressions of Xenoblade Chronicles X. So let's get started. Well guys, we've all had the game for quite a while now. We've put in varying degrees of playtime into it. I think, Emil, you're at, 75 hours at this point?
77.
Something grotesque.
Something grotesque, indeed.
Grotesque hours, yes.
Yes. I am currently sitting at 45 hours, and Masae?
I'm sitting at approximately about 15, 20 hours.
Okay. So we're going to
Person with a life.
So because of that, and because we don't want to spoil anything for Masae, we're going to keep it to about the 20-hour mark, which is fine because nobody else really wants spoilers. They want to know about the game, but they don't want anything spoiled from it, you know? And we've gone pretty in-depth with some of the later stuff from our Q&As that Emil and I did. So I figured that this would be more of our just general impressions and how we feel about the game and, what kind of feelings it's giving us as we're playing rather than answering specific questions. This is, that was factual. This is emotional. So right off the bat...
This is about the heart.
Exactly.
Heart to heart.
It's all about that. So, Masae, what is your affinity with this game?
Affinity as in...
You better say at least 4 hearts in my presence.
Oh boy, pressure's on now. No, I really, really like this game. It's been incredibly impressive. Like, it has blown a lot of my expectations completely out of the water, and I've been enjoying it entirely.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing I can say about that game is just the game is that our impressions, I think in all of our cases, was maybe not the biggest before the game came out, just because of I think we're all focusing more on the story and how we weren't seeing much of it. But now that we're playing it, it's a little bit, actually not a little bit, it's a lot more impressive than we gave it credit for.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
My biggest issue, other than just not seeing much of the story, I was thinking it wasn't going to really have much of a story past the exposition, though, but a lot of the marketing, everything was super serious, as Bill Trinan said, in 25 days, humanity will be no more, and stuff like that. What made the first game so charming and special to me was that it had really good humor. There's so many things in that game that get quoted all the time. It has some really funny jokes, and, I can't remember another RPG that really had that since The World Ends With You, the So Zeta Slow thing. Mm-hmm. That's the last time that a really big Japanese RPG had jokes that people were quoting on the internet a lot and that people thought were really funny. But no, this game is hilarious. It is so funny. From the decisions that you can make to just the things that the characters say in cutscenes to just their interactions with each other, it feels really alive, and it's not super serious 100% of the time. It's really funny.
I think every character has had this moment, or most characters have had this really great moment where they've been able to stand out and show a bit of their lighter side and how they're having fun and just all this other great character development.
There's some affinity missions that I personally really like, though. I won't specify, though, but yeah, it's very worth your time to play those side things, though, because you will learn a lot more about the characters.
Going off the characters, during my preview impressions video, I said that Lynn had become my absolute favorite character in the game, and that still stands true. She is a fantastic character. And I'm just curious, what characters have stood out to you guys?
Oh boy. All of them? All of them for different reasons, quite frankly. I don't know, this is one thing that I really, really have been appreciating about the game a lot, is that the characters have been standing on their own in their own right, because in a lot of the previews, we didn't really get a good grasp of what the characters were going to be like, what we were going to see out of the relationships between all of the characters, and that was kind of worrying to me. But from what I've played, which is not as much as you guys, I've seen the development between everyone in the immediate party, and it has been really, really interesting. But I have to say that Elma is quite the badass, and I love her.
Elma is great. I thought she was going to be like a super tightwad before the game
No,
was out, but
totally.
yeah.
Like, I thought that Elma was going to be super, super uptight just because of how the trailers made her kind of seem. And I was really pleasantly surprised when she turned out to be really understanding and super chill about everything.
Like, she's serious about certain things, but she can still have, like, a good humor about others, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She has that snark.
She
I
does.
like that snark.
I do have a favorite character, though, but I don't think I should say their name because of spoilers, just because you don't immediately get this character, so, I can't really pick a favorite. It reminds me a lot of a Fire Emblem game where you have a lot of playable characters, and they somehow just all really work together really well and have those interactions. Mm-hmm. And it's that really makes the cast work well, despite the large number.
I think it even goes beyond Fire Emblem, because a lot of times, even though you have a lot of characters, you get a little bit of like their personality when you first join them, and unless you use them in battle, you only get a few like snippets fleshing out their personality, and you get way more of that in Xenoblade. And speaking of the pre-release information, where we were just looking at what we saw and everything before the game came out, and well, still before the game came out, before we got a chance to play, I didn't know who the party was going to be. All I knew was Elma and Lynn, and that's about it, you know?
Yeah, same here. I didn't know who was going to be playable. I was avoiding the website, the Japanese website. The day that it went up, I went on there and I listened to the song about 8,000 times, but then after that point, I was avoiding it, though, because I knew that they were going to post bios for later party members eventually, though, so I just stopped going.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of like, I was kind of amused, like, you met all these characters when you're first getting introduced to New LA, and then all of a sudden you get this big chunk where all those characters come back.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, oh, are we not going to get to really meet these guys that much? But then you start doing the affinity missions, and that's when the development starts coming in.
Yeah. It's I like how a lot of the characters are introduced too. It's just they're introduced in really fun ways. Won't elaborate though, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like I said, kind of like a Fire Emblem game.
Well, what else? I mean, besides story, what has stood out to you the most about Xenoblade Chronicles X?
Well, okay. I have one thing to say about that, and that is how absolutely gorgeous the world is. And just being able to explore every nook and cranny as far as I possibly can, and still getting progress despite going out of my way to do these things. That's one thing that I really, really appreciate about it, is that I can do whatever I want, really, but I'm not limited to one specific area. Because a lot of RPGs, you are pretty much led to go in a certain direction because of one reason or another. Maybe there's too many strong enemies in this area, so you know you're not supposed to go there. But I feel like in Xenoblade, it's very, very much an open world, which I don't see very much in RPGs. And like, you can do whatever you want, and you can go wherever you want. You just have to be a little bit sneaky about it in certain areas, but
Yeah.
You technically can go and discover whatever you want to. And I find that very, very kind of free feeling, I guess.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because at first, when I was first playing the game, I was kind of nervous to go outside of Primordia. You know, that's what I was used to. And then I started getting missions that said, no, go into Oblivia, go into Noctilim.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I went. I was like, if the game says I can go there now, I'll go there now. And it turned out I could handle it.
Yeah, it's pretty early game that you get the ability to do that too.
Mm-hmm. And it really is freeing. Like, you're like, oh, I'm here. I'm not getting killed immediately. Let's go explore further. Let's see what else we can find here, you know?
Yeah, and especially when you're like trying to find checkpoints and stuff and be able to warp back there later, it feels very rewarding to go and just on your own time, aside from doing quests or story chapters, to just see what you can find beyond that.
Is it satisfying to you as it is to me, where like you explored ahead of time and you found these quick travel points, and then all of a sudden you get mission later on, and all of a sudden you have to go right to that point. And you're like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes. I have had
already
that
went
happen.
there.
I love it. I love that so much.
What about you, Emil? What has really stood out about the game to you?
Mine is that there is so much to do in the game, but it doesn't ever feel like I'm not making progress no matter what it is I'm doing. Because, like you were saying, there's low-level enemies everywhere. You can find low-level enemies somewhere, you can find medium-level enemies in that same place, you can find high-level enemies there. It's very diversified to the point where no matter what level you are and where you go or where you decide to put your efforts, there is always something to do. You can wander super far away, and there will still be enemies that you can kill. You can't go everywhere, obviously, but you can do exploration, you are making progress. There has been very few times in my 77 hours of playing that I have felt like something I did was a waste of time. Because either I filled in more of the map, or I killed some enemies and I got some experience out of it, or just something. It's that there's a sheer large amount of things to do, just massive amount of things to do, but it doesn't feel like you're making too little progress to justify continuing to play.
Yeah, it's... I mean, as Masae said, she went off and did her own thing, but because there's still stuff that you can do where to fill out segments and plant data probes or find specific pieces of the ship or archaeological digs or whatever for finding other items. You never feel like time is wasted.
No, you don't. It's, There's so much to do everywhere, and it's just like it's hard to not find something to do wherever you go or what mission you choose to accept, whatever. It's just there is so much to it. In addition to that, just we talked about this a little bit in the Q&A, and this isn't story spoilers or anything though, but just how alive the world feels. Not only the fact that it feels very realistic and that there's strong creatures and weak creatures everywhere you go, and it's not like a typical RPG where, well, I sure feel bad for the kid that was born in Blackthorn City and wants to be a Pokemon master. It's not like that. It's
Oh my gosh.
It really is like you can it feels like a realistic world in that there's that, and you even see like the larger, more powerful creatures preying on the lesser creatures. There have been times where there's been like Grexes like eating smaller monsters, Swedes, you'll also see them eating like, smaller enemies. I know that these enemy names like don't mean anything to somebody who hasn't played the game though, but trust me, they're more predator type enemies that are eating smaller, less predator like enemies. And that kind of thing just feels really alive. They have routines where it's like at nighttime, if the enemy is diurnal, you'll see them asleep. Some enemies will change their behaviors and go to different parts of the map at night. Sometimes caves will have tons of aggressive enemies in them during the day, but at nighttime they leave the cave and you can explore it.
I've never seen an open world game be this vibrant, like this large, and still have this much stuff going on at any one time.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and it's just that it really feels so alive, in addition to the fact that there's something to do everywhere.
Yeah, I can definitely agree there. It's just that was pretty much what really made me get really attached to the game, is just how, like you said, alive everything actually feels. Because when I go out into the field and I'm looking around at everything, I know that everything is set on its own schedule and they're doing their own thing. It's not like they're just standing around in an open field and not doing anything.
Yeah,
and
enemies go to sleep and things like that.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't feel stagnant.
They hunt other enemies, things like that. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. If there's like an enemy that's like guarding a door or something like that, they might not be guarding it at other times of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see that very much in RPGs, so it was very refreshing.
I mean, heck, you've had like enemies like that were like up in trees, like jump down and attack you and stuff.
No!
Yeah,
They could see you from up there though, but you couldn't see them from down where you were.
or the ones hiding underground.
No!
Oh, those things, they are sure. I won't like spoil anything in particular though, but I think the words guardian deity will mean something to you after you've played a few hours. I'll just say that much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny, but it's also like, it's also great that when you are powerful enough to go back to those things that were giving you trouble and just whoop them.
Just kick their asses. Yeah, it feels so good.
Okay, well, conversely, what's something about the game that, you haven't enjoyed quite as much, or just, you're not sure of, or you're just, having some qualms with?
Can I go first on this one?
Sure.
Okay. Because
He's ripe and ready.
I really want to get this out there. I was really overwhelmed by just how deep the menus went and just how many things there were that you could customize at first, to the point where it was kind of making my head spin and I felt like it was too much. As time has gone on, though, I feel like the menus are well designed, and while it's different from the first game, it works for what kind of game this is and how different it is in certain ways. But I will say this. I don't like switching party members.
Oh boy.
It is... I don't know what the developers were thinking on this, though, but just like... I don't mean to make it sound like it's that bad, though, but it just... In the first game, it was just you had a menu of all your party members, you switched in and out who you wanted to use. But in this game, everyone has, just like the monsters, they have their own schedules. You know, they have areas that they stand in NLA, and it's that you have to go and talk to them, and then they can be switched into your party, and you have to do this for each of them. Some of them are in really convenient spots, but others not so much, and after you've filled in a lot of the maps, it's hard to remember where everyone is.
You get so many party members that you start like, okay, where was this person again? And there's not even any real convenient place to reference that. I mean, you can kind of click on the segments and see, but you're still going to be tapping around a bit, trying to find them. And it's really inconvenient.
The thing that I don't get is that I think this would have been an easy fix. Not only because in the first game you just had a menu of all your party members and you just switched in the ones you wanted to use, and you could switch between your inactive party members that way, but also the fact that everyone has a communications device. I don't get why I can't just, call them on the phone and say, hey, come to where I am, and then they would just, skip travel to me, spawning right near me. I don't get why I can't do that, because I feel like that would be an easy fix for the problem, and it would make sense within the context of the world if everyone's got a cell phone on them.
It is quite baffling.
Yeah, it's just, I will say that I think switching party members out is really inconvenient, especially if you're like me, who, wants to use, the core story-important people for the story chapters, and then when I'm not doing story chapters, go and get some of the lesser characters and train them up. It's just, that takes a while, and I feel like that could have been a lot easier if there was just a menu. It's my only big complaint with the game. I think that everything else is phenomenal, and I liked it a lot more than I expected to. So don't make this sound... I'm not trying to make this sound like at all that I dislike the game because of this one thing, though, but it's easily the one thing that I would want changed the most, and I don't know why it's not different.
I feel like they probably did it to make it feel more realistic in a sense, because, like you said, you could theoretically just call them up on the communicator and be done with it, but I feel like maybe the intention was to kind of give each of the characters their own schedules, I guess. I obviously can't say for sure, but I feel like if they're trying to make the monsters feel like they have their own schedule and their own thing going on, they want to make your party members and the characters feel the same way.
Even if they do, though, it's
in the context of being a game, it's a real pain, and I don't like it either. I'm just saying that might have been where some of the thought came from.
Yeah.
That would make sense, but it also, as we said, as a game element, it just doesn't.
No, it's a pain.
Work.
I don't like it.
Yeah, a lot of the things in the game that don't really make a whole lot of sense from a logical standpoint, they're good game design decisions where they make things more convenient for the player. It might not make sense, that you can jump off like a 50-foot tall cliff or something like that and not take fall damage in this game.
I'm gonna sit on this bench for about 15 hours.
Yeah, those things don't really make a lot of sense from a logical standpoint, but it's a good game design decision. That's the only thing that I would say is not a good game design decision, and that I kind of would have preferred it to make no sense, where I just go into a menu and switch.
I don't switch out my party members that often, so fortunately it doesn't come up too much, but still, it can be a real pain, as we said.
It's probably just a bigger pain for me, though, because I'm insane and going for 100%.
Oh, I'm doing my best to do that, too.
Okay, so you'll probably know more what I mean as you get more, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. What about you, Masae?
There is one thing that kind of bothers me as well, and it does go along with, the whole... It might be to seem, a little more realistic, but it just makes it a lot more inconvenient. It's finding where the frick to get certain items. When I'm trying to do these quests, and it's find this item. We're not going to tell you where to get this specific item, but you have to go out and find it. And I'm Primordia itself, just in one area, is so gigantic. I'm not entirely sure where to find one specific thing. And it's one of those things where I know in my mind that you can find certain item orbs and certain things in different areas of the map, and it's not entirely it's not entirely spread equally through the entire region, but to figure out where one thing is a really huge pain, and I've been putting off a lot of my gathering quests because of it.
What I do at this point is, I think this makes your life a lot easier, is just I don't accept gathering quests until I have all the items that it needs already and just instantly complete it. That's how I've been going about it, though.
Yeah, and I've thought about doing that, but I really I want to... Okay, to me, it feels really satisfying to pick something up along the way and have, like, mission completed!
I
in
can
a
see
sense.
That. Yeah,
I can see that.
I like that feeling of going out and trying to hunt for them too. It's not necessarily that I want to just check the board and like go systematically through the entire list every time and be like, okay, I can complete this right now. I can complete this right now. It's just I really wish I could have that feeling of these gathering quests and actually go out of my way to go and gather them without having to just so happen pick one up.
I get why they don't do it, though, because the item orbs can spawn so many different items in this game, and it's like you can find them in so many different places in just one region alone. I get why they don't do it. It's just that there's so many possible collectibles you can get that the chances of getting the one you want are so low.
There are two solutions to this that the game presents that I feel like they should have, like, the ways that the game could have handled this problem, because this is actually my biggest complaint about the game as well, Masae. The whole gathering. Yeah. Yay! I can immediately see two different ways they can solve this problem. One, if you register it, you immediately have a way of tracking where it is. In the Collectopedia. Nice. That way you can maybe hone in on it and it'll show you like a little like clump, like thanks to the Frontier Nav. Yeah.
I want to interject this real quick. I have actually been super worried about filling anything into the Collectopedia because I feel like I'm going to miss out on some side quest that opens up later. And I don't want to like lose one piece of precious gathering material that I might not be able to find later.
I have felt the exact same way, and I think Emil has too.
Well, what I do is I have a specific way of filling in my Collectopedia to prevent that, though, but it's a little complicated.
Yeah, basically either fill in the stars or wait until you have every material in that line and then just do it.
Yeah, that's how I've been doing it.
But even if you do it that way, that's still risking getting rid of a piece of gathering material that you might need later. That makes you benefit the most out of them at one time, but you're still giving up that one item to fill in that slot on the Collectopedia. It stresses me out.
Yeah, and that's why if you registered it and it shows you where that item is or that clump where that item could be, that would remove that stress.
Oh, I wish it would do that. Yes.
You could just see exactly where you need to go. And I wish they did that, but I also have, like, I just came up with a second idea after my latest session where I had a mission say, you have to go collect this stuff, this amount of stuff. And I'm like, wait a second, why does it actually have an arrow pointing to where I can go when I know this is a gathering mission? So I go to where I need to go, look at it, and all the materials I need for this quest are in red, and that's because it's not an actual Collectopedia item. It's an item only for this quest, so they all appear as red crystals.
I've seen that.
And I'm like, why can't you just make the crystals I need red? That way I can like select the mission, and it'll immediately make the crystals I need red, so I know exactly which ones to go for or to look for, because they are immediately recognizable over the blue ones.
That would have been so nice. I could have really gotten into that.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Again, it's not a huge issue. There's ways that you can fix it, but the thing is, you shouldn't have to plan around it. You know?
Yeah.
So obviously, you two are much bigger Xenoblade Chronicles players than I was. I got maybe to Colony 9 and then got distracted by something, as I've said many times before, and never ended up finishing the game.
Filthy
I know.
Casual.
What's wrong with you?
In my defense, after playing X, I really want to go back and like try again with the original. I know that's crazy to say because X is so massive, but even after all this, like, no, I kind of want to go back and keep up this whole train, you know?
Well, it's never been easier. It's $20 on the Wii shop. It's on the new 3DS, so you can play it portably. It's never been easier to play the original.
Yeah, and I own the original on Wii, so that's always been thank God for that. With all the prices that was around for a while. I know the music is actually quite different from how it was in the original compared to what it is now. And as two big fans of the original Xenoblade, is that jarring for you guys, or you just dive headfirst into this new music and just love it for what it is?
I personally was very apprehensive at first because I heard the new style change in the directs and in the trailers and stuff like that, and I was very, very standoffish with it in the beginning, mainly because I love the original soundtrack of Xenoblade so much. It's one of my favorite soundtracks that's ever come out of anything, and I don't know, I just was really worried that it might go, if this makes any sense at all, too epic. When you have a really great song, but it's too epic, it's not catchy anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like how, I think I know what you mean. I was kind of worried that we would have, just songs like Engage the Enemy, but we wouldn't have our Ricky the Legendary Hereupon music.
Yeah, the original Xenoblade had so much charm in the way of its musical design, just because it had a whole, just so many genres to it. In that it had some classical things, it had some really heavy rockin' things, and it had techno and anything else. And I was really worried that X would be stuck on one certain thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can definitely see where that worry would come in, but I gotta say, after playing it, I kind of love the eclectic mix of X.
Yes. It's really good. There is a unified style. You can definitely tell that one composer had input on every song. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the first game it was a collaboration between 5 different composers. Mm-hmm. But I think it really works well for what this game is. I think Sawano did a really good job based on everything I've heard so far. There's a few decisions with the music that I'm not a fan of, but it's more so when they play certain songs, but I won't talk about that because it is actually a spoiler, but yeah. It's just that I kind of wish that they they didn't play this one theme in this one situation though, but that's really about it.
Okay.
But that's more of an issue with people that were deciding when to play what songs rather than the person that composed the music themselves. Mm-hmm. Songs are really good. There's a lot more variety than I was expecting, even if it does have a unified style. I am somebody who made the argument that the original game has the best soundtrack in video games. I made that in a video that I made a while back, but yeah, I will say that this one definitely doesn't disappoint.
That's good.
It's
it
great
really
music.
Doesn't.
The funny thing is Emil and I have talked about our favorite songs. My personal favorites are the Noctilum Day and Silvalum Night.
Oh my gosh.
And they are so good. But the funny thing is, when I start thinking about the music in the game, the one that always comes to my mind is, I think, New LA Day. Yeah.
I have this...
yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay, no, I have this really specific thing. I can't take that song seriously.
Oh, I can't either, but it's so...
No. The reason why is because whenever I hear it, I remember that one Wind Waker Flash cartoon of the 3 links and the 3 barrels. And, he does this remix thing where he goes and it reminds me of that every time it hits that point in the song, and it makes me laugh.
It's funny. I don't mind the song at all, but it's one of those earworms that's just always there with you.
Yes.
It's funny though, because I initially didn't like the NLA Day theme the first time I heard it, but it's I've liked it more and more and more as time has gone on.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it I tolerate it, I guess is the best way I could put it. The best
wow.
way I could put it. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's not one of those, I wouldn't listen to this normally. If it wasn't for the game. It's not something I would get on on my iPod or something to listen to.
It's great background music that makes the city feel alive, but it's not it's not as catchy of a song as those ones that we just listed as really liking.
Yeah. Absolutely not. And actually, I want to add a new song to that list since the Skell battle music. Oh my god, it's so good.
I'm so excited.
I know what
to
you
get
mean.
a Skell. I'm so excited to get a Skell.
Well,
I've not gotten a Skell yet.
We all have to give a shout out to "We Stuck on a Different Planet" or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't know like the credits like for the singers and stuff like that though, but I want to track down that guy who's like, "We stuck on a different planet." I want to find out who that guy is.
It's funny. I know a lot of people are concerned about the vocals, but I don't pay attention to this.
I don't hear it.
Yeah, like you hear them a little bit, but like it's when they pop in, it's like, yeah, I'm ready for them to pop in and actually start saying, lyrics.
Yeah, the lyrics always come in pretty late into the song. Like you'll be battling for like a solid minute or so before you hear any lyrics though. So in the shorter battles, you don't even hear them at all. It's kind of a special thing when they do pop up, like we were saying in the Q&A, because it feels like the battle's important and it's been going on for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I think they handled it well in that way. And in addition to that, a lot of the lyrics are just guys going like, so it's more like an instrument than somebody singing.
Yeah, a bit.
But they don't actually sound like I did there. I just a terrible singer.
You should try out for it, Emil.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wanting to try singing Noctilum now, but I won't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You owe me later. That'd be a good business, getting favors out of not singing.
There you go. But,
perfect business.
Yeah. So, real quick, what are your favorite songs that you've heard so far, Miss A?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Noctilum Day is definitely high up there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
so
the real crowd pleaser.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it just gets you so into the experience, and it matches the visuals so well.
I see it as kind of the spiritual successor to Bionis Leg Day, like when you go out onto that for the first time and it just feels so alive.
I prefer it to Bionis Leg.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I do. It's a really solid song.
Mm-hmm. Now that you say that, I think I do have to agree. It really is that good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, as soon as at the first time you hear it, you get those full lyrics, and like as you're exploring through, it's like, yeah, I'm into this. Like Noctilum is, I think, where the music like really hits its stride. Like Primordia is fine and gets you in the basic atmosphere, but when you hit Noctilum, so good.
Yeah, I got so lost in just the music and the scenery and everything else the first time I went to Noctilum that I forgot skip travel was a thing, and I spent 40 minutes walking somewhere that I could have skip traveled to the entire time. And like I said, it didn't even feel like a waste of time. It didn't.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Oh, that's what you were gonna say?
Emil.
I thought I could get away with this with Andre, but no.
Well, he's here in spirit. He's just like, so that wasn't what you were gonna say. Well, I'm really awful at doing impressions of that guy. I get worse with time.
Wow.
I went from like Barney the dinosaur to like Dr. Phil with a cold.
Okay. Anyway.
You should show Andre this.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, the music just, here's a good pun. It hits all the right notes.
Yes!
I prefer your puns.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A good pun is when you don't have to it hits all the notes. That's a bad pun.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
fine,
100%.
fine. The music really sings to me.
There you go.
Much better.
Yeah.
At least this way, I don't feel like just hanging up right now.
I thought you were gonna say punching me, but okay. It's a step up.
Yeah.
Wow, Emil.
But yeah, I think that pretty much covers our general impressions of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Emil and I have talked about this at length, and Masae obviously tends to agree with us, which is a good sign. it's the two of us just aren't crazy, so that's very good. But let us know if you'd like us to keep giving our impressions as we get farther in the game. Obviously, Emil and I are pretty far, but we'll sort of stretch it along with as Masae gets to certain points, we'll reconvene and maybe talk about it a bit more. And if you guys are interested, of course.
My Skell.
I think that's a good point. Once you get your Skell, let's reconvene.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And we can talk about like the game up to that point and whatnot.
Of course, not story stuff, but
Oh yeah, not story stuff. No spoilers or anything like that. But gameplay, general feeling of the scale, and how it changes and all that stuff, and get more perspectives, because this game I think is really worth paying attention to. Anyway, I think that covers it for our Xenoblade Chronicles X discussion. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And Emil, where can they find you at?
Something.com/Chuggaaconroy.
Okay, easy enough. And Masae?
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, /.com/MasaeAnela. Yay! I screwed that up.
Share this. Twitter, Facebook, Google.
Don't worry about it. We'll have links in the description and annotations and all that. We'll point people your way because you guys both have some really great content out there.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. I love talking about this game with you guys. It feels good to be able to gush about a game before it comes out.
It feels good being able to talk with just someone about it, so I'm not having to just keep it all to myself in my dark cave of an existence since I got this game.
That went from super positive to like really sad in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, Xenoblade will do that to you.
It's a life consumer. This game is a life consumer.
Yeah. But as we said, it's also really good for pick up and play.
It is.
Yeah.
You can play it like an Animal Crossing game where you just go in and maintain NLA a little bit each day.
Mm-hmm. It's so good.
It really helps that you can play it on the gamepad too, just saying.
Yeah. Having to go to the bathroom won't interrupt your play sessions on this one.
That's not what I was referring to, but sure, that too.
Well, that's how it is for me, okay? I have a bathroom right next to my office.
Wow, glad to hear about this, Emil.
How else do you think I've gotten 77 hours? Playing on the toilet has been a huge contributor.
The things you learn on GameXplain. Anyway, of course.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm keeping this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, buddy. I'll remember that next time you say something bad.
Of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Xenoblade and other things gaming too. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.